A lieutenant colonel in the Nigerian army and 6 soldiers have lost their lives in an ambush by the Boko Haram terrorists along Buni Yadi Road, Borno State. The soldiers died exactly a week after the military personnel who were murdered while on a peace mission in Delta State were laid to rest at the National Military Cemetery in Abuja. It was gathered that the Boko Haram insurgents ambushed the soldier at Kamuya, a village close to Buratai, hometown of former Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General Tuku Buratai. A security source said the soldiers paid a supreme price on their way to Damaturu to buy fuel. It's very sad. They were soldiers of 135 Special Force BN FOB in Buratai. They were ambushed on their way to Damaturu, Yobe State to buy fuel. Unfortunately, we lost an officer, a driver, gunner, and 4 other escorts, while the wounded are in the hospital responding to treatment, he said. A local source who escaped the incident by whiskers said while on his way to the neighboring Yadi town, hometown of Governor Buni of Yobe State, he ran into the scene. I can't describe the kind of gun battle that ensued. The insurgents, who were in large number, overwhelmed the soldiers. It by God's grace that I survived, he said. Before we go further to explaining the details in this report, let me give you a report that was released just last week by the Nigerian Army. Now, this is a report. The Nigerian Army has planned to release more than 200 detainees absolved of having links to the Boko Haram sect. The repentant detainees were arrested by the military at various rates in the heat of the insurgents. It was gathered that they will be handed over to the Borno State government for proper reintegration into the society. According to the report, the event will take place at Giwa Barracks in Maiduguri, the state capital. No fewer than 200 cleared Boko Haram suspects who are being cleared of any wrongdoing by security operative, and they will be handed over to the Borno State government for rehabilitation and reintegration. Without appearing vindictive, let me pay my condolences to the brave military soldiers that just lost their life. May their soul rest in peace. Amen. Now back to the story. First of all, why is there no outrage on social media over this killing, as we saw when it happened in Okoma community? Why are the APC supporters not calling for the community to be leveled down? For the benefit of doubt, this is what I'm expecting. When the same military men were ambushed and killed in Okoma community, the military headquarters released a statement and vowed to bring the perpetrators to book. I expect them to do so now. They should release a statement on what happened and vow to bring those criminals to book. Secondly, President Tinubu did release a statement when the incident in the Okoma community happened, and in his statement he asked the defense headquarters to go after the killers. Tinubu gave an order for a full-scale military operation in that community. I'm expecting him to write a letter addressing this issue and also give full-scale military operation in the Kamuya community in Borno State. Prior to this incident, the army had a reprisal attack, killing innocent and unarmed civilians in Okoma community and burning down houses. They even extended their archaic carnage to by destroying houses and killing unarmed civilians in neighboring Bayelsa community. I'm expecting that to happen in the Kamuya village in Borno State. I mentioned earlier that the Nigerian army had last week released captured Boko Haram set who they perceive and tag repentant. They released 200 terrorists back into the community. Just after 1 week of releasing and reintegrating criminals into the society, the same military was ambushed and her personnel killed by the same sect they have just released into the community. Isn't this worrisome? This arose a question that begs for an answer. Why do we still have Boko Haram in our soil? Why are we still fighting insurgency in Nigeria? I thought they said that Boko Haram has been technically defeated. The phrase that Nigerian militant group Boko Haram had been technically defeated is ringing increasingly hollow. 7 months into his first term in 2015, President Muhammadu Buhari coined the time, but the group and its offshore have never gone away. The military has managed to retake territory and dislodge the fighters from some of their hideouts. But a recent spike in deadly violence focused in the northeast, where the Islamist group began its insurgence in 2009, and has led many to ask, what is the root of the authorities' failure? Already this year, there's been nearly 100 attacks according to one estimate. A number of military bases as well as towns, including Gaidima and Damascus, a hub of aid workers, has been overrun. 100 has been killed, and weapons, food, and medicines have all been looted. There are 6 main reasons why Boko Haram has not been defeated despite the government claim, expert says. Number one of that reason is root causes not addressed. An over-reliance on military strategy to comfort Boko Haram is at the heart of the state's inability to deal with the threat, argues security analyst Kabiru Adamu from Beacon Consulting. That's why, unfortunately, almost 11 or 12 years into the counter-insurgence operation, we are not seeing major successes. Yes, the military will dislodge the terrorists, but then because they are still able to exercise influence, they are able to recruit, they are able to generate funding, they are able to acquire weaponry, then they regroup. Expert says that it is not that the people in the northeast sympathize with Boko Haram and its splinter group, the Islamic State West African province, but that the neglect from the authorities and desperation often drive people into the hands of the militants. The reality is that to address insurgency or terrorism, you need more than military operation. You need to address the root causes of insurgency, Mr. Adamu says. Unfortunately, we haven't seen enough effort in that regard. He points to the lack of good governance that leaves the population impoverished, frustrated and uneducated as one huge root cause. There are major government initiatives that are meant to spread up development in the northeast, but little progress has been made. There is also a national counter-terrorism strategy, which also involves economic development and counter-radicalization, in addition to the redeployment of troops. But Mr. Adamu says it appears the strategy is not fully implemented. The second aspect is Boko Haram's ability to recruit. The endemic poverty in parts of the region, as well as the insurgent violence method, enable the continual recruitment of generation after generation of fighters, expert says. People are readily available for recruitment just to survive, security expert Abdullahi Yawa said, citing the problem of joblessness and poor governance. Mr. Bukati highlights the systemic campaign of forced recruitment of young people. Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum recently told the BBC that the insurgents were even recruiting people who had previously been forced from their homes by the conflict itself. Number 3 is lack of equipment. Even when it comes to fighting, there is a problem of weaponry, according to Mr. Adamu, who says that the military is ill-equipped. Research by his firm, Beacon Consulting, found that there were about 6.5 million small arms and light weapons in circulation in Nigeria, but just 586,000 are in the hands of security forces. It is not the case that all of the remainder are being used by the Islamist militant, but the figures highlight that there are a huge amount of weapons available that are not in the military's control. Mr. Adamu also said that what we are seeing based on evidence is that these armed groups have a higher caliber of weapons, unfortunately, than the military. Number 4 is corruption. Corruption may be one thing that is holding the military back when it comes to improving its equipment. It is suspected that a lot of money meant to boost the campaign against Boko Haram has ended up in officials' pockets. Mr. Yahweh says that in some cases, the fight against Boko Haram is not being fought with sincerity, and it seems some people have turned it into some merchandise and are into self-enrichment. In recent years, the military was hamstrung by the US arms embargo over human rights abuses. President Buhari and his predecessor Goodluck Jonathan both complained that this was hampering counter-insurgency efforts, but it was lifted by President Donald Trump. Number 5, the military strategy not working. The insurgents appear to have understood and adapted to the pattern of military airstrike and are taking advantage of the difficult terrain in Nigeria's northeast to evade military attacks. Over the past years, the army has been withdrawing troops from smaller bases and concentrating them in large formations known as super camps. This strategy was adopted in early 2020 when the soldiers were under regular attack and their weapons being stolen. However, it has left vast swaths of rural communities unprotected, analyst says. We have evidence suggesting an increase in attacks on communities between the period when the super camps were created and now. So clearly the super camps left the rural communities more vulnerable. This has also devastated the livelihood of people in the northeast Nigeria who rely on fishing and crop farming and an impact on food production. The military also hampered by gaps in intelligence gathered as well as being unable to plug information leaks. This means that sometimes it appears that the insurgents are ahead of the military. The army disputed this alleged problem. Its spokesperson Mohammed Yarima recently said that the troops are in high fighting spirit and determined to serve as ever as before to clear the insurgents out of the northeast region. Number 6. Boko Haram's influence is spreading. Adding to the problems of dealing with Boko Haram is the insurgents, once confined to the northeast, appears to be spreading. There are concerns that armed criminals gang in other parts of the north and center of the country are forging links with the militants. Last year, Boko Haram released a video claiming the presence in Niger State where it's far from its usual area of operation. The authorities there issued a statement in March saying Boko Haram fighters had infiltrated the state, occupying forests and attacking communities. Ex-Army Chief Yusuf Tuka Buratai suggested that the fight against Boko Haram could continue for another 20 years if the civilian and military approaches were not better coordinated. The hard-pressed residents of northeastern Nigeria, we hope that the warning does not come to pass. Thank you for watching. I would love to hear your thoughts on why the fight against insurgency is here to be won by the Nigerian military, and what you think about the attack on the military personnel in Kamuya village, Borno State. Please ensure you like, subscribe, drop your comment reaction in the comment box. I will see you in the next video.